people! Welcome to Python lesson number 3, where we'll talk about variables and all the different types of data we can store inside them. Variables are very basic building blocks in Python. We use them to store pieces of data that we'd like to easily access throughout our code. Variables consist of 3 different elements: a symbolic name, an assignment operator, which in most cases would be the equality sign, and lastly, the value we're looking to store. And I've included some examples for you guys, so check them out before you continue. Variables are also being categorized into different data types, representing numbers, words, and even lists of items. Currently, there are 8 basic data types in Python, and let's actually take a look at them so we can get more familiar. We'll start from the numeric data types, and our first one would be integers. Integers represent whole numbers, positive or negative, and you can see some examples. While floating point numbers or floats represent decimals, positive or negative as well. And it's the perfect time to start a new notebook in Jupyter or Colab, whichever you like, and we'll take a look at some coding examples. So let's say I have 3 dragons. So we'll type dragons equals 3, and randomly, with no particular reason, let's say that 2 of my dragons died. So we'll type dead_dragons equals 2. And now the only thing left to do is to type a simple formula and find out how many dragons I actually have. We'll type total_dragons equals dragons minus dead dragons. Kind of makes sense. And make sure you print the results. So we'll do print total_dragons. And we can run the cell with Shift Enter. And we got 1. Perfect. Well, okay, that was way too easy and extremely unuseful. So let's see a real-life scenario where we can use integers or floats. So I live in British Columbia, Canada, and lately I've been keeping track of all the COVID-19 cases in the province. So I'm going to use the up-to-date numbers from the government website of the cases in BC, and we'll compare it to how many people in total live here. Our first variable will be named COVID_BC, and it's equals to 1203, as we've seen in the previous page, while population_BC is actually equals to 5,071,000 people. That's a lot. And for now, keep your variable names identical to mine, and we'll talk about the naming rules later on. It's time for the formula. So my probability of getting sick, we'll call it prob, equals to COVID_BC divided by, or slash, population_BC. And we'll print these and Shift Enter to run the cell. And as you see, my chances of getting infected are pretty low, at least from this perspective. I actually want to point your attention into something interesting that happened here. We can see that even though the variable prob was created using 2 integers, it ends up falling under the float category because we get a decimal. There's actually a very simple way of checking the data type of a variable if you're unsure. We'll simply use the type function. So we do it by typing type, and inside round brackets, we'll put our variable prob, and we'll wrap all of this in a print statement so we can see the results. Run the cell with Shift Enter. And we can see that Python interprets the variable prob as a float. Let's actually check the type of population BC. Now we're expecting to see that it's an integer, but you never know. It's always good to check. And we see that we got it right. Perfect. In our last numeric example, I'll show you the mathematical operations you can do with basic Python. And yes, I mean the absolute most basic Python. So let's say A equals 12 and B equals 3. We can find out their sum by using plus. We can find out their difference by using minus. We can multiply using the asterisk. We can divide by using the slash. And lastly, we can even do a square operation with 2 asterisks. The next data type we'll talk about is strings. A string is any set of characters inside quotation marks. Now, these characters can include letters, numbers, or even punctuation symbols and spaces. Basically, as long as something is wrapped inside quotation marks, Python will interpret it as a string. Let's see some examples. So let's get a few basic details about our pets. I'll type pet equals, and in my case that would be cat inside quotation marks. Now the quotation marks can be either single or double as long as it's a matching pair. Now we'll continue to pet underscore name, which in my case equals to Neo. Yes, you can tell I was very impressed with the matrix. And lastly, pet underscore age, in my case, equals to quotation marks 4. Now here, I want you guys to note that even though 4 is a whole number, once we place it inside quotation marks, it does not count as an integer anymore. It counts as a string, automatically. An integer would have looked like this. So if the value of your variable is green, that means you got yourself a float or an integer, and if the value of your variable is burgundy, that means that it's a string, well, at least in Jupyter. Now let's print all three variables in the exact same statement. We'll type pet, comma, pet name, comma again, and pet age. Shift enter. And wow, we desperately need a few connection words. Luckily, you don't really need to create separate variables for every piece of string you want to include. So let's start with some context. Inside a print statement, we'll start with quotation marks and the words I have a. Then we'll include the variable pet, using a comma of course, and then we'll write his name is inside of quotation marks. Then we'll include the pet underscore name. We'll include the words and he is. Following a comma and the variable pet underscore age. And lastly, finally, comma and the string years old. Now let's use Shift Enter to run the cell. Now what we've just done here is called string concatenation, which is fancy words for connecting strings. Note that concatenating using the comma operator can only be done inside print statements. Using comma anywhere else will result in a completely different action, so don't do it just yet. We'll get to it when we'll talk about tuples. Another thing we can do inside our print statement is dividing it into lines. We'll use the new line literal, which is \n, and while it looks a bit crazy at first, our results will now be arranged a bit differently. We now have 3 lines instead of 1, and let's actually delete our first print statement. We don't need it anymore. And we can also see that the new lines begin exactly where we placed our \n literal. Perfect. In our second example, we'll store our concatenated string inside a variable. We'll name it my underscore pet, and we'll use the plus operator to concatenate it to the variable pet, and so on. And again, using a comma like in the print statement above will not work here. Comma as part of a variable value means a completely different thing. And now I'm just adding a little bit of context, mostly to demonstrate we can use multiple plus operators in the exact same concatenation. So let's print our variable my underscore pet, and wow, it works! Great! Another cool way we can concatenate strings is by using the format method. And this is probably my favorite way because it's so much more organized. We'll type my underscore pet 2 equals I have a curly brackets. His name is curly brackets. And he is, you guessed it right, curly brackets years old. And right after the closing quotation marks, with no spaces in between, we type dot format, and inside the round brackets, we're filling in the blanks sequentially. So first, we'll have pet, then we'll have pet underscore name, and lastly, we'll have pet underscore age. And we're separating all of these with commas, so don't forget that. Now let's print the variable my underscore pet2. And yes, it works once again. So far, we've talked about all sorts of ways of combining these strings. But what else can we do with them? Can we use some mathematical operations like we did with integers and floats? Let's have a look. There are actually two arithmetic operations we can use with strings. The first we're already familiar with, that would be the summation of two strings by using the plus operator, again as in the examples above. And the second is the multiplication of a string by any integer or float. So as you can see in the current examples, the plus symbols and asterisks have completely different meanings when handling strings. But what's the point in all this? Where can we apply strings in real life? You can see that once we change a value in one or two of our pet ID variables, our print statements are being modified accordingly. You can basically tailor specific words inside your print statement to make your message more personal. Similarly to how every email newsletter these days contains your name somewhere on it, rather than just a general hello user greeting. So there's your real life example. The last data type we'll talk about today is Boolean, and it's the easiest of them all because it can only be one of two values. It can either be true with a capital T or false with a capital F. And let me explain with an example. So our variable, my underscore Boolean, is equal to, and now it's time for the conditional statement, which in our case will be 3 is less than 6. Now Python is going to evaluate this conditional statement and let you know whether if it's true or false. Actually, we can wrap our condition inside round brackets so it looks a bit more organized. We'll try the same, but this time we'll flip the side of the operator so 3 is greater than 6. Let's see what Python has to say about that. And as you can see, 3 is indeed not greater than 6. Here's a tricky question. What happens if we want to check for the equality instead? Do we still use the equal operator? And the answer is absolutely not. The equality symbol is an assignment operator. It's basically the glue that holds a variable name and its value. And therefore, we cannot use it to make comparisons. Instead, we'll use the double equality sign, which is the go-to symbol in our case. Moreover, there are plenty of other comparison operators you can use. Please take a look at the following list and try to experiment with a few of these. And as you experiment, you may be wondering, what exactly can we do with this true or false thing? Where does it come handy? So in the near future, we'll learn all about if statements and while loops, where Booleans are an integral part of the scheme. So far, we've only talked about 4 simple data types. What about the rest of them? The advanced data types contain more than just one value, as you can probably see in the examples. We can recognize some strings and integers inside them, and yet they fall under completely different categories. So let's save these for a later point in our course, and we'll talk about them after we master all the cool things we can do with integers, strings, floats, and Boolean. And by things, I mean methods, so stay tuned. In the next video, we'll talk about the rules of naming your variables, just as I promised earlier. I just had to split this lesson into 2 parts to keep it slightly shorter and slightly more bearable. If you guys found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in lesson 3.5 very soon. Bye bye!